You ever wonder why people are the way that they are? You ever wonder why people think the way that they think? Well, here's an answer to your questions. This is the Sit Down.
Welcome to the Sit Down, man. We sitting here with Big Sarge of Big Sarge Sports. Just met the guy, man. Cool guy. Got definitely passionate. Has a lot of drive towards his causes that he represents. You're going to hear a lot about that today. We're going to get into what got him onto radio, his journey on through there. And, maybe a couple hot topics if he wants, you know what I'm saying? Just
works for
me. Get it going. So, but yeah, man, without further ado, let's go ahead and just talk about, how you came up, I know you're doing you are definitely an advocate for colon cancer awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mental health too.
Mental health. Oh, nice, yeah. Nice. So yeah, man. Just talk about what got you into that. Was this something that you grew up dealing with, or just anything about your upbringing that caused you to go in and just talk about the journey, how you got there.
So from the mental health aspect of it, I'm a veteran, so I was in the military in the Army, and I suffered from mental health issues being in the military, but I also suppressed them because the age that I am, being a 47-year-old African-American male, I grew up in a time where, you don't go tell your business to nobody, unless you're talking to somebody from the church, your big mama, or like one of your aunties. But other than that, you ain't telling nobody that you got mental health issues. I remember one of my cousins, they just called him like the crazy guy in our city. But he'd walk up and down the street, talk to himself, and come to find out he was schizophrenic and bipolar. But my grandma would leave the door open for him, and he'll come in, and we'll see him. He'll come in, go and take a shower, then he'll go back out. And the only time we'll see him is walking on the street. Nobody really bothered him. Nobody really helped him. And so, when I started thinking about the times that I was suppressing my mental health issues, it took me back to then. And I was saying, if somebody would have just helped my cousin, if somebody would have just helped him. And so for me, I suppressed my mental health issues for 2 years while I was in the military. And I worked in a hospital with a mental health ward. I passed by it every time. I mean, it was like one floor above me. But I walk in, just keep on going, because the stigma for being in the military is, if you can't take care of yourself, then how you going to lead soldiers? If you go into behavioral health to get help for mental health issues, how are we supposed to trust these soldiers around you? So there's a lot of people who are either active duty military right now or have gotten out of the military that has suppressed their issues for a very long time. And in the midst of getting out, then they go because they want to get the help while they're civilians. And so that's what played a part in me not talking about my mental health issues, the Army aspect and my upbringing aspect, and being a man, especially being a black man. You don't go and tell your look, you just suck it up and drive on. You be like, I'm feeling some type of way. I got the, this anxiety or this depression and things like that. You be like, nah, you can't. That don't mean you're going to stop doing what you got to do. You got to keep on doing what you got to keep. You got to do what you got to do. And so that's when I got out of the military. What took me to get help was one day I was sitting in the office and I had an episode and I was about to destroy everything in the office. So I didn't see people as people anymore. And I had females in my office. They were objects to me that was causing me either to get more upset or not to be able to get to where I need to get to. So I was about to tear up the entire office. That's at the point I had got. So I made it out the door. And one of the staff sergeants who worked up in the mental health ward, he seen me and I started talking to him and he, pushed me to go get help. And I've been getting help ever since. And so that's how I developed the company called Screaming on the Inside. It's for men's mental health. And I'm a mental health advocate, but I'm a a strong advocate for men because we are the ones who don't like to talk about it. Yeah.
Man, yeah, that leads me to like the conversation that I had with someone about how it wasn't well, just the general argument of how black men don't, well, men in general, but black men definitely don't address their emotions at all. You know? And it's like I was thinking about it, and it's like, well, I mean, it's kind of easy to say it, but when you're thinking about like you said, the stuff that we actually have to deal with, do we have time to? Because like you're saying, I don't want an emotional soldier on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not necessarily like, I know it's probably more beneficial for all soldiers to seek as they're in active duty. Sometimes it will help prevent some of those issues get worse, or how the stuff ends up, and it probably should be more. But at the same time, like you said, it's going to be kind of hard to send somebody, some of your best soldiers, if you finding out that there really is something wrong. And so then you got, hey, I don't want to lose my rank. I don't want to, lose the respect. I don't want to, so it's so much. You got black, but men of the house supposed to be the provider, the security and all of that. You don't want nobody emotional when it comes down to paying these bills, or somebody busting your home and you got to be protected. You don't want that man to be emotional. So it's like, in our role, typical role in life, it's pretty hard to say, this is what I had to condition myself in order to effectively do this job. There's a place that you have to go in your mind when you're in war, I'm pretty sure. It has nothing to do with sitting across the stage, and actually having a conversation. Right? Like, let's just say that, right? Like, there's no way I'm sitting there thinking, like, these guys are going through this, like, thinking happy thoughts. You got to probably take yourself into a dark place in order to come out alive. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, not necessarily in war in the civilian life, but just war in the workforce. Like the fact that you got to get up every day, go to work, do this and this, whatever. You got to, from the time you get married or you start a family, you work every day for someone else. You know what I mean? Okay, what you're doing, it's going to someone else. So, to effectively do that, to be that consistent, almost machine-like, you have to shut that off. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's definitely tough. For men to even recognize that. Because
you don't get to be, so when you're working on a consistent basis, you go to work for whatever time you go to work, and then you come home, it's like you're not off, because now you got to become husband and daddy, or boyfriend and daddy, or whatever the case may be. But when you come home, when I used to come home from work when I was in the Army, once I took my top off, I just assumed the role of what else I got to do. All right, so now what I got to do in the house? I got to make sure all the kids are together. I got to ask my wife, well, how you doing today? What was going on? Blase this, blase that. And then I may have a daddy do list that she didn't put together for me. So just because I didn't work the last 12 hours, that don't mean nothing. My home life can't suffer. And so when you're dealing with mental health issues, it's like, where's the break? Where's the avenue? So I used to, we do PT in the morning, exercise and stuff like that. And that's where I used to get my, and I'll say, okay, and to this day, one of the things that helps me out is going to the gym, because I can take all my frustration out on the weights. The weights can't go, the weights ain't finna file no charges on me, but I take all my frustrations out, everything that I have out on that weight room, and then when I come out of it, I'm like, okay, so it's almost like being a therapeutic thing to me. So I do this conference call, the Screaming on the Inside, Men's Mental Health, and I try to get the young men starting from age 8 and above, because I look at it like this, when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, you can still recognize when something isn't right. You can recognize, you may not know what it is. And so I try to get it to whereas men can come out and talk about their feelings or what they're going through or what they've been through. I remember the very first one I found out I didn't know that one of my friends had suffered from split personalities. I did not know that until he began to talk during the conference, and I'm saying to myself, wow. But you know, our especially our African American boys, man, they dealing with way more than what I had to deal with when I was growing up. I didn't have, you know, you might have had one bully, but I mean, I wasn't cyber bullied. You know, I didn't have to go through my emotions of, you know, what my sexuality is, you know, or what am I seeing, and if I'm seeing this on TV and I'm getting, you know, like attracted to like a man or something like that. I didn't have to go through that when I was growing up because, well, I wasn't that way. And also, you know, it's like, hey, man and woman, that's it. You know, no homosexuality, no transgender, none of that. But now with the way that these kids are growing up, and especially these boys, you're saying to yourself, man, they got so much going on. So that's why on the mental health aspect, I try to reach them there. And then older males, because I'm like, yo, bro, how old are you again? Oh, I know you suppressed yours. I know you ain't told nobody about how you felt or this, that, and another. I know you did.
You came up in the era where you shouldn't, and you couldn't.
And right? Because you get a whooping for telling. And so I try to pull that out of, you know, men as well. So that's one of my passion as far as mental health. And then I'm also a colon cancer ambassador. So I'm an ambassador for it's Fight CRC. So it's colorectal cancer. Fight colorectal cancer. And I became an ambassador for them in 2018. And so we have our annual call on Congress coming up here on sometime this month in March. I think it starts the 17th.
Talk a little bit about how you even got involved in that. Like, what led up to? I mean, you know, how did colon cancer even come into your life? What led up to you even, you know, being an ambassador? I mean, how did you get an ambassador? I mean,
so here's the thing.
You don't just apply for that, I'm sure.
So you just heard me say that I worked in the hospital when I was in the military. My last couple of years in the military, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was stationed at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. So working at that hospital. One day, my wife. It had to be 2013. Went because she was having stomach issues. So she went to the hospital and, you know, they told her, oh, you just got colitis. You ate too much pork. And my wife was like, but we don't eat pork in my house. I don't know what's going on. They was like, yeah, we'll take this ibuprofen. Well, I want to say a year later, she goes back to the doctor with the same symptoms. Doctor pushes on her stomach. And says, oh, your appendix are about to burst. So you have to have an emergency appendectomy. And so in the midst of her having the emergency appendectomy, they found a tumor that had been sitting on her for a year, which if they would have done what they were supposed to do, they didn't. So they did what they call a sigmoid flex, I think it's what it's called, where they went halfway up her colon. When they should have given her a full colonoscopy, because my mother-in-law had been diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer in 2012. And so they didn't do their job. And so now she got misdiagnosed. They find this on her. So now in the midst of healing from the emergency appendectomy, she's doing full-on chemotherapy because she's at stage 4. Like she's at stage 4. So they like, yo, we got to hop on this thing like ASAP. And so in the midst of her healing like that, in the midst of her going through chemotherapy, I'm still working at the hospital, and I'm seeing the doctor every day. The Navy personnel. I'm seeing her every day at the hospital. So now that's triggers. Click, 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 because I'm leaving my wife at home, sick, and at the time did not know, but dying. Right. And then coming to the hospital and seeing the woman who should have did her job that didn't do her job. So eventually they had to get me up out of the hospital because my therapist was like, he suffers from internal rage, and if he has an episode, y'all gonna either have to kill him or it's going to take a lot of y'all to stop him. It's like, because he goes to the gym faithfully. He's a strong old man. He got that old man strength. And so, like I said, in the midst of that, so my wife, at the time, she, you know, 'cause she passed away in September 2017, but when she was living, so this was 2014. I got medically retired in 2015. We moved back to Texas so she could go to MD Anderson. March of 2015, they told her she was cancer free. October 2015, they was like, you got 6 months to a year to live. So I got 2 more years out of that, like 23 months. Because like I said, that was, October they told her this, and then she passed away in September of 2017. You know, after she had been through the hospice stage and all that, died in my arms. So that still plays, you know. Matter of fact, yesterday made 18 months that she's been gone. And man, it's still, you know, so it plays on my mind over and over and over again. And so before my wife got colon cancer, bro, like, I didn't know nothing about that. Like, growing up, I didn't even know really about breast cancer. The only thing I knew about was lung cancer, because like everybody in the community smoked. So somebody daddy died, somebody granddaddy died. Yeah. And so once my wife started going through that bout with colon cancer, and I started learning more and more about it, when she passed away, I was like, I don't want anybody else to have to go through this, you know, and I know it's going to happen.
Right.
But if I can prevent it, then I'm going to get out there and I'm going to spread the word and tell everybody. Because, you know, before, when my wife was living, you couldn't get a colonoscopy till you were 50 years old. Now they finally lowered the age to 45. My wife was 39 when she passed away. She didn't even live to make 40. She was misdiagnosed at 35, diagnosed at 36, passed away at 39. So that's why, you know, it's so near and dear to my heart, because I see people in the colon cancer community. You know, we lost a baby that was like 4 years old. We lost a young lady, I think in Virginia, who was like 18 years old, passed away from colon cancer. So like, that's why we're going to Washington to say, hey, look, we need more money, we need more research, we need everything, because you all think that it's an old man's disease when really it's taking away our young adults. And so that's why we created Mila's Journey Foundation, for, you know, to be able to raise money for, they don't have like Make-A-Wish for young adults who have colon cancer. So they got it for breast cancer, and they got it for, you know, kids who suffer. But colon cancer, there is no Make-A-Wish. So I try to get as much money as I can to try to find out if somebody, you know, that's in the hospice stage is going to pass away. Like, I try to do what's your wish? And let me see if I can help, you know, put something towards it. And we do chemo bags, like I was telling you all early. They're over-the-shoulder bags that have blankets, socks, coloring books, and crossword puzzles. And we give those out for free. Okay. I know I did a lot of talking, bro, but you know that's what I do. That's what I do for a living, man. So I get to talk.
That's what it's all about, man. Just you know, giving, you know, as much detail, because like I said, man, we could definitely tell it was, you know, to, like I said, get all the way up to the ambassador level. Yeah. There'd be some type of passion involved, some type of reason, some extra push.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know
man,
what I mean?
most definitely.
And, you know, my condolences out to you and with your wife and all. But, man, I definitely commend you on using that to fuel awareness for everyone else. You know what I mean? And, like, I can definitely tell that, you know, mental health played a major part in being able to deal with that as well.
Yes.
That's enough to make someone who has nothing to do with the war and inner rage to blow up. You know,
and you know what's so funny too?
For someone who had it to keep that cool, that's some.
The funny thing is too is that it's really weird how, you know, how my passion for mental health and colon cancer, how it runs, you know, hand in hand with each other. Because my wife didn't have, or she wasn't diagnosed with mental health issues until she became terminally ill. So when you find a lot of people who deal with these terminal illnesses, they develop mental health. So my wife had to start seeing a psychiatrist. You know, my wife had to start seeing a therapist. They had to put her on medicine because, I mean, how do you tell how do you tell a 38-year-old, 30, well, I put it like this. How you tell her, 30, she was 37 at the time. How you tell a 37-year-old, you're about to die. Like, you're not going to make it. You got 6 months to a year to live. Or you got to tell somebody who suffers from any terminal illness. And so they run hand in hand. So it's my passion to be able to get, I'm passionate about men's mental health, but I'm also passionate about mental health in general. So I can help any and everybody. And that just happens to run along with, my drive for colon cancer.
No, man, I definitely understand. Me personally, I'm a behavior teacher.
Yeah.
So I deal with a lot of the kids with the emotional issues.
Yeah.
A lot of them are foster kids.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's trauma.
Yeah.
Definitely trauma. So each one has issues, different issues, but imagine, having the mental issues of an adult, but not being mature enough to even understand.
Yeah.
And so you're just blurting out any and every way to express yourself at the time, and hoping that the adult understands.
Yes.
And it's definitely clear how important it is to even address your own mental health issues when dealing with children who may come in with mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard for you to recognize that child is actually crying out for help.
Yep.
Or has a true mental issue when, you were brought up to believe that it's not even real.
Yep.
Right? So if that kid is just not cooperating or doing whatever,
He just bad.
he just bad.
He whooping.
Right.
He like-
Because I don't understand
Yeah.
this mental issue stuff. So,
Yeah.
the fact that I can't or there's a block in my mind to even grasp that aspect that kid could possibly have a mental issue is in itself.
Yes.
Probably a mental issue, a
Exactly.
mental health issue. But
Yeah.
no one wants to, acknowledge that. A lot of people at least don't want to acknowledge that. I can say honestly, a year ago when I first came to this school, at that time they were offering a program that allowed teachers 1 year of counseling.
Yeah.
And I signed up for it, and it was free of charge, and so that was definitely cool.
Yeah.
But that was my second time even doing it. Now, the first time, it was in college, and I was getting my bachelor's, and I think it was like midterms or finals, and it was just tripping. So I figured, I was like, let me go talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
But, I look back at it, and it was more like I came in there for a fix.
Yeah.
Like, just make me stop feeling like this. Make me stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was like the stuff that the person was talking about wouldn't, you know what I mean? So it's like, but I realized it was my mistake going in there, not for my mental health, but for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Like make that stop.
Yeah.
This time I was given, when I went to this one, I had more of an open mind, definitely from reading more books and just understanding, first just reading books about the power of the brain.
Yeah.
Then you can understand how mental health issues develop when you actually understand how the brain works. And so just reading that, and me being a person that believes like, once you learn something, there's no way you can act like you just never learned it. So I can't go back to being ignorant about understanding. And so that prompted me to actually take counseling and a more open mind.
Yeah.
And we would meet, once every 2 weeks, consistently for like a year until it ran out. But and we went over a lot, especially my aspect on working in elementary school as a black man.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that you
And my hat goes off to you on that too, because there ain't a lot of African American males in the elementary schools, and
Right.
I just read a thing that said we need more.
Yeah.
I wish I could do it. I can't go back to education.
I definitely agree with that. Again, I'm in special education, so a lot of times I get kids who, if there was a black guy, or I don't even want to say a black guy, because that's I don't like that stigma that's all we're there for. Yeah. Is to intimidate and force to be good. Yeah. Versus they can actually be great teachers and build relationships with kids and actually be liked. But just strong teachers, period. Because I can, just being in this, doing this for like 7 years, you start to, realize that a lot of the kids that were referred came from teachers that, that couldn't handle. Yep. There's not like I get a lot of referrals from strong teachers. Mm-hmm. So if there were more strong teachers that, were in the elementary field at the younger levels, then I wouldn't get so many kids at first grade or second grade. And you realize, man, this kid hasn't had maybe 1 or 2 years of school total before they've already deemed him special ed. You need to be out of class. You need to be with this person all day now because you can't handle that. And I'm like, that's not, that's not right. Like, and I guess coming from the area we come from where that probably wasn't even researched that much. Exactly. And our special education wasn't as wide,
because if it wasn't a physical handicap,
right?
When we were growing up, it was like, nah,
you just bad or you're crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
so
call your mom.
It wasn't right, or you got that one room.
Yep.
So that's all we pretty much have for special education. But now, when you look at the wide umbrella of special education, man, it stretches. It stretches into these regular classes. It goes into the gifted and talented, all the way down to the non-responsive. Yeah. So I mean, in everywhere in between, and the more they research, the more they find out. Of course, the more kids qualify for
especially minority kids, too.
Right? And that like I say, it goes towards not having a lot of minority males teachers, or at least teachers that want to understand these minority students, because I can't say I haven't worked with white teachers who understood, who got it, who wanted to help. I mean, I think I took, like when I look back at the teachers that actually really made an impact in my life, they were white teachers who wanted to. Yeah. It's pretty much because we didn't have that many black teachers back then, especially on the side of town I lived at. But still, like growing up at that young age, it was always like I just remember that it was a teacher who didn't look like me, but yet still saw
reached
something.
To help.
So, that's like a real surprise when you don't expect it. You think your help is going to come from all the black teachers that don't even exist at that time. Yeah. And so when you actually get that helping hand, or someone who wants to push you to actually do better versus put you out. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I used to be in education. So I taught 5th and 6th grade, and then I taught from 9th through 12th at a behavioral center when I was in Georgia. And so the one thing that helped me relate to kids when I had to deal with them, and I mean from the 5th and 6th grade and from the high school, is that a lot of times I can relate to what you're going through. And especially on that 5th and 6th grade level, I used to have to tell some of those kids, come here. They were, 12 years old, but they were the oldest, and they were taking care of like 2 other siblings in the house because mama is working 2 jobs. You know what I mean? Most of them come from a single parent household, which is the mom. So I had to tell them, hey, come here. Like, when you're here, you can be a kid. You don't have to come in and try to be no adult. You don't have to try to come in and buck no adults, because all of us here, we're adults. You don't have to come here. It's like I was the oldest. I was a latchkey kid. My mom worked 2 jobs, so I had to make sure that my 2 brothers got their homework together, make sure we ate, until my mama got home, and then we sit down. She come home, she tired, but she want to find out what's going on. And so that's why I would always say that when it comes to having minority teachers, because some of them, or the majority of them have been through some of the things that when you're working in those lower income districts. I worked in a lower income district, so I got predominantly Hispanic and African American kids. And so now I'm telling them, hey, come here. Come here, let me holler at you for a second. You don't have to be that way. Or I know what you're going through. Like, I grew up in the hood too, and I know what it's like to go through this, that, and the other. And so and I miss being in education, but I can't. With the way the current system is now, I couldn't do it because of my mental health issues, and it won't allow me to have kids like disrespecting me by cussing me out and this, that, and other. I'm like, but I'm here to help you, and you're doing all this, and I'll be like, you know what? Let me just gracefully bow out, because like I told you I lost my wife in 2017. 15 months later, this past December, I lost my mama. So now the two strongest women that were in my life, I've lost both of them. So at the point of, my mama was there to help me get over my wife. Now my mama gone and my wife is gone. And now I'm just like, well, as soon as I started to cope with the fact that my wife wasn't here anymore, I lose my mama. So now I got to call and make sure I check on my stepdad too, because, he done lost a wife. I done lost a wife, and so it's one of those things, man, where it just put me back into a loop. And so that's why I know that I couldn't, a lot of times, and I hope I'm not changing the subject, but a lot of times when it comes to with me, because I know that I do suffer, like I have been diagnosed with rage, and I said that earlier. And, when I tell people, I was like, listen, anger is nothing to me. Rage, once I get to that point, it's hard for me to calm down. So I try to remove myself from a lot of situations. I know my stressors. That's why I can say, hey, you know what? Somebody get into it, you got it, bro. Like you got it. I walk away. But if you follow me, the more you follow me, the worse that's going through my mind. And then it gets to the point where my wife took her last breath in my arms. So I'm looking at her literally in her face, looking at me. She couldn't even talk. She stopped. She lost the ability to talk probably about, I want to say 10:30 the night prior, because she passed away in the morning like 5:45. Well, 5:15. They pronounced her dead at 5:45. She couldn't talk from like 10:30 the night before till nothing. So she kept mumbling and trying to say things to me. Kept mumbling, trying to say, and I'm gonna take this to my grave. I'm pretty sure she's trying to tell me, hey, I know what's going on. She's trying to tell me, I love you. I love you. So, I just kept asking her, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You okay? You okay? You okay? And like I said, when it finally started, happening, I grabbed her and she just looked at me in the face and like was just mumbling a little bit, and then that was it. So I say that, bro, to say that when I tell people, I was like, hey, bro, leave me alone. I've literally held death in my hands. Like, I've literally held death in my hands. I
think it'll be that hard to take your life.
Exactly, man. And so I'm like, I've literally held death in my hands. I watched the person that I love the most take her last breath in my arms. And I'm saying, bro, so what do you think is gonna happen if I snap? You think I'm gonna care about you and yo? That's why a lot of times I walk away from stuff, and I'm trying to teach people that as well. Walk away, get off social media, log off, or refresh, and you ain't gonna see it no more. Block the person, remove them, mute them on Twitter, whatever you gotta do. There's a lot of people that, because I'm all for, hey, listen, I'm all for listening to both sides of it. I want to hear your opinion, what you got to say. But by the same token, like, if it starts to get disrespectful and then you get disrespectful towards me, now I got to do what's best for me, because if I don't, then it's going to be bad for everybody. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm such a advocate for mental health, because especially social media, will drive you insane and will trigger your anxiety. It will trigger your depression if you're reading the wrong thing, because they get that algorithm of what you love to watch or see all the time. And then that'll make you mad. If you bipolar, if you schizophrenic, like, you can get into it. It's so easy to get into it with somebody you never even met on social media. And so that's why a lot of times I'll be like, you know what, bro, let me just go ahead and, because you getting a little bit sideways. So that's when I have to tell you, hey, man, you don't really know me like that. You just know me from social media. So what's best for both of us, let me just go ahead and remove myself from the situation.
I mean, it's crazy. It's like you mentioned, if you got all those symptoms, it's probably best to back off. But imagine a person that either A, does not want to admit that they have those, so they have to fight with that, right? Knowing the truth but living the lie. Yeah. Then you got to understand the ignorant person that just doesn't even realize that they have a problem yet. Exactly. So it's like they just think that that's normal. Yep. Right? They feel like getting into it with someone on social media and going find them and doing something to them is supposed to happen. Like, that's the way of life. I'm like, nah. No, you're right. It's not,
And it's bad for our kids, man. These kids got so many social media platforms. And that's why, I just read, and it broke my heart. I just read that, I think it was a 7-year-old girl killed herself because she was being bullied on social media. And I'm saying to myself, that's crazy. Growing up, man, look, we had a bully. You fight him. That's about it. Y'all fight, then y'all move on. But, nowadays it's just, and it's coming from so many places that, like I said, and I know that I'm harping on mental health right now, man, but I'm just trying to get people to realize that, 1, mental health issues are real. 2, undiagnosed, if you don't go get the help, because, man, I'll tell anybody, like, look, going to see a psychiatrist or going to see a therapist, as I tell people all the time, it's the best thing in the world for me, because I get to sit down in front of somebody who has an unbiased view of me. They ain't finna tell me what I want to hear because they know my mama, or because they cause they went to school with my uncles, right. Or they my family members, or they go to church with me. They're going to sit down and going to listen to what you guys say.
It's nothing to lose. Yeah,
and they're going to regurgitate what you said, and then they're going to tell you, go, and they're going to go from there. Or, man, I done went and sat in therapy for like 30 to 35 minutes and then say a word. And they keep talking, I'd be like, no, I'm good. They'd be like, you want to end a session? Mm-mm. And I tell people, it's your session, for 1. And 2, if you want to go in there, and if that's how you want to be, if that's the only way that you can express yourself, like you don't feel like talking, they ain't going to make you talk. They're not going to make you talk. They're going to keep asking you questions, of course. But they also realize that this may be the most therapeutic thing that they do. They may not be saying nothing to me, but it may be going through their mind. When I got out the Army, I went and took classes, like social work classes, so I can learn before I get out here and start talking about it. And I was doing self-diagnosis on myself. So I know how to go to the DSM-5 and look it up and see, oh, man, I don't, because the DSM-5 is like going to WebMD. You be like, man, I didn't know I had folliculitis. So that's what I'm saying, man. I'm just such a huge advocate on people getting help.
The like one of the pivotal point for me when I did my year with my counselor was, I would go in there and pretty much anything that I dealt with, any type of drama at work, and that year it was a lot. Yeah, I mean it was a lot. I mean it was my first year there, and things were interesting. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. But I would always go there and pretty much like let it out, like lash out. Not lash out, but just like say everything that I held back. Yep. Because in the professional world, definitely it's tough for us to be able to show anger or discomfort and
an angry black man.
So a lot of things that you test your patience in certain situations that I was able to go talk to her about. But Mostly though, and I feel like, and this is all teachers, good teachers or teachers with a good reputation, it get kind of overwhelming because you find yourself doing work for everyone else. Like, I gotta deal with this kid that's not in my class now, and I gotta deal with this situation, or you expect me to answer the call for here, but yet I got my own class. So it's like, it gets overwhelming, and it's like almost every time that they would bring something on new, a new responsibility, a new this, and I would go to her and I'm like, why? You know what I mean? If it's like they want you to do a specific job, right? Pretty much be the security guy, but yet you get rated like, I don't want to say low because just enough to keep you, but you know what I mean? That's you pretty much live in that little area. It's like, as long as you do your job as this, you're only going to be around here, so you're good. And so pretty much I would keep coming to her about like, something like, man, if I'm so low, why you keep asking me to do more stuff? Why I gotta do, this, like, why you can't treat me like this?
Exactly.
And, just going on, and one day she was just like, what if they actually do think you're good enough to handle all that? And I was like, it was one of them, like, but what if they, and like you said, she forced me to think. And I know that the basis of that was so small. But knowing me, how I make connections with everything else I see in life, from that point on, every situation I got into, I had asked myself, but what if the opposite? And that right there, like, changed for me, just being able to humble myself enough to say, as strong as I feel about this situation, what if they didn't know? What if this really was a situation? It's like, nah, I know. But, so to be able to have that control, like mental control, to not allow your mind to only go one way, because it's extremely hard. And then most people don't realize how hard it is, especially when you've came up from a strong culture. A culture that this is what so your brain is set to go one way as well, and it's hard to acknowledge the other side of any aspect, any argument, or anything you're dealing with.
Exactly.
So even like I said, it was a whole year, but I would say that one moment, of
only
her
takes that one, right?
Her challenging me to think opposite of how I was feeling at that time. And, like I said, now, don't get me wrong, it ain't perfect. So you don't have to, sometimes you do. But for the most part, like, knowing that I do have that ability to stop myself from overthinking in one direction, even though sometimes that's hard too, because you start overthinking in a whole bunch of directions at the same time. But to be able to control that thought, and to control your thoughts, to control your feelings sometimes, or at least acknowledge your feelings and be able to control your reaction to them. You can't control the feelings, but you can acknowledge first, say, hey, this is how I feel, and then to be able to ask yourself why. And that led me to just, continue to reflect and think, why did this make me uncomfortable? What really is the issue? Sometimes I have to go back 5 years, 10 years, childhood, to realize where certain issues really started. And then you have to say, okay, was that situation really like this? And then again, it just starts, making those clocks, going on and on in your head. And it's like, you come to that conclusion that, man, I really have been thinking only one way this whole time. Now let's try to do different, And, no matter what, you look at as successful, that's always something that they had to do, make an adjustment somehow or some way. Exactly. So yeah, man, it, like, I see it as important to you, but it's definitely to me. You know, as when I work and you know, just seeing the world, man. Mental health is really an important issue.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are seeing that. I guess as much as some people want to put a lot of negative blame on social media, one thing that it did was it allowed people to come out.
Yep.
Right? Whatever you're dealing with, it allowed you a way to express it and deal with it.
Yes.
You know, a lot of, you know, without a platform to even express it, whether it's social media, whether it's an actual counselor to talk to, without the ability to express it, it kind of tears you up.
Yeah.
So as much as we want to judge people and be like, oh, wow, look what they putting on it, or look what how they putting themselves out there. Well, imagine if they couldn't, and how that would eat their brain up, and then how whatever else would erupt somehow, some way. So now it's like, all right, well, I would rather people to be open about who they are and how they're feeling, and if social media gave them that, you know, that courage, that outlet to do it.
That's what I love about
then,
social media,
so
man.
Be it.
I've met a lot of people that I've met a lot of people online that I've never even met in person, but are like some of the best people I've ever met in my life. And if they live close, of course I would hang out with them, and of course I would, do other things. But like for me, I'm not gonna even lie, social media for me is an outlet. So I'm able to go on there and be funny. I'm able to go on there and express my feelings. Like yesterday was like a really bad day for me, but I put it out there so that people will know, because my wife and I used to do a show called Transparency, and a radio show called Transparency, where we were like, yo, she's dealing with a terminal illness, but by the same token, like we still got real life family issues with the kids, with marital issues sometimes. I was like, we used to still argue, and my wife would say, look, I know that, I've been diagnosed with death, but by the same token, like we still get into it. Because I treated her like she was going to live and not like she was going to die. And that's my advice that I would tell people. It's like when you're dealing with somebody that has a terminal illness, don't treat them as like they're going to die. And you always, because then you make them feel bad. And like the day my wife passed away, she probably really knew. I didn't know. Because we didn't, live our life up to that point to where it was just like, oh, you okay? It's like, no, hey, look what I see on Facebook. Or, hey, what you doing? How you feeling? Because she got to the point where she couldn't move a lot either. So she was bedridden. So go in there and we just laugh, joke, this, that, and the other. And like I said, we still had our issues when it came to the kids and stuff like that. And so social media has been one of those things for me where I can put that out there, or I can share the stuff I got, everything that I got going on, and it just helps me to interact. And for a lot of people, it helps them, because I try to put stuff out to whereas I don't care, maybe one day it may be positive, one day I may be. This is the biggest misconception I tell people, and this this may sound crazy to you. But, I tell people, like, sometimes if you mad, be mad. You don't have to fake it like every day is a lovely day. If you mad, be mad. If you angry, be angry. It's better to go ahead and get it out than to suppress it. So you don't got to come on and give no positive Bible quotes every day. If you want to come on and be like, yo, I am pissed off today, say it. Put it out there. So somebody can be like, well, what you mad about? And then you could be like, I don't want to talk about it right now, but you'll come back like the next day, like, man, let me tell y'all why I was so upset on yesterday. And thank you all for, reaching out to me or whatever the case may be. So that's just what I do, man.
Yeah, man. That's important though. You know? But yeah, man. Even when they people talk about different couples, you know, whether it's interracial, whether it's same sex, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, you'll see a lot of memes about look at all these successful black men with a white woman. Or
Yeah.
you look at all successful black women with a white guy, and it's like I always sit back and like, but again, imagine how they would be if they were with someone that people wanted them to be with versus who they wanted to be with. You know, I don't think everybody's making a statement when they're marrying someone outside their race or same sex or whatever. Some people are just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna just be open with what I want, and I'm gonna live with what I want, and
Love who I love,
love who I love," and that makes them happy.
Yep.
And that's all you want, really, because again, let's say a homosexual guy being with the woman because he's forced to do it. That marriage probably ain't gonna be as healthy.
In our day and age, that's how it was.
Right. It's not gonna be as healthy as it would be if you were honest about what you truly want.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, same thing with the interracial argument. It's like, why would you want a black man who loves a white woman to be with a black woman if that's not who he loves? Like, you know, no one wants to be with someone because they felt they had to.
Yep.
You know, you don't want to be, okay, well, he only with me because he, you know, the society don't like him seen with the white woman. So, you know, I'm the one he picked to be the one that society wants him to like. You create so many more problems when you force yourself to be with who people want you to be with.
Exactly.
So, you know, again, like when you really understand mental health, it's hard to be like, you know, they should do this. Like, nah, they should not. They should do exactly what they want. You deal with how you feel about what you're looking at. Yep. But their job is to simply be honest with themselves and do what they really feel.
And I be making people so mad on Facebook too because, you know, I have a saying that goes, knowledge is a performance enhancing drug. Because you think about the more knowledge you get, the better you perform. And so that's why I say that. And I also tell people, like, you're not mad at me, you mad at the truth. And so I'm gonna tell it like a TI is. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not. At the end of my sports shows, I do a thing called Article 15. And that's where I may talk about, you know, something that's going on in today's society or something that I've seen. And it don't discriminate. It could be black, it could be white. Earlier what's today? Wednesday? So Monday and Tuesday, like, I didn't even do one today because I was talking to one of my friends who almost went to jail over sexual assault and rape allegations that were false. And if it wasn't for me being a witness, he would have been in jail for that. And so we were talking about that because the young man down in Baylor, after 3 years of going through sexual allegation and rape, sexual assault and rape allegations, he was found not guilty. And so they brought up the on the show,
linebacker, something like that, right?
Sean Oakman. Yep.
Yeah, big guy.
So, you know, I was talking to some people and got into it on Twitter about, you know, there was a young lady that came on because I was like, well, if he was found not guilty, what happens to the young lady who lied on him? Well, he's like, well, not guilty verdict doesn't mean that he didn't do it. I was like, okay, so, but what if she did lie? Like you yeah. So like you saying, you know, what if he ain't guilty? I was like, but I mean, what if he's really guilty? I say, but what if he's not? And so I brought up some situations. There was a young lady that came on and said, you know, for every one, I brought up the Brian Banks situation. I don't know if you remember him or not. You remember Brian Banks, right? Yeah. So I brought up the Brian Banks situation, and she says, for every one Brian Banks out there, there's 100 me, because she was gang raped by 4 men. And I told her, I'm sorry you had to go through that, and this isn't my lane to go back and forth with you on this. I said, but, you know, you said for every one Brian Banks, there's 99 of you. And I was like, well, there's like probably 99 Brian Banks too. You only know about this one because this is what the media told you. Yeah, but there are a lot of there's a lot of African American males sitting in prison right now over sexual assault and rape charges that are false. So I had my friend on today. We were talking about that. Yeah, right?
You paid the ultimate price.
Exactly. I had my friend on today who had been through that, false allegations, and he used to be a prison guard. So he's sitting there talking to these men in jail, and they tell him blase this, blase that. He go back, you know, he looking at their cases, and he's like, yo, this dude is whatever. So as I digress, I was saying to say that the Article 15s that I do is, they don't discriminate. I just talk about, this week I talked about Oprah Winfrey and what she did on the Michael Jackson docuseries. I was like, that's a very bad look for you, Oprah, because your network is failing. And you brought that. I said, now listen, I wasn't there, so these young men could be telling the truth, but they've already went on record by saying that he didn't do it, and now he's saying he did it. The man ain't even here to defend himself. So we talk about things like that. Talk about like how you heard about the husband and daughter who killed, and blamed it on the panhandler. And so, I'm saying to myself, but wait a minute, hold on. So I did a little research and found out all this other stuff about him. So some people get mad because then I'll do other things about when it deals with Anglo-Americans. And so I use those two examples to say that the Article 15 don't discriminate, and it pisses people off. Excuse my language. It pisses people off on both sides, because when I do it and it's about Anglos or Hispanics or Asians, they get mad. When I do it about African Americans, they get mad. I'm like, it's what it is, though. It's the truth.
Sound like a fun show.
Yeah.
Sound like something I had fun with.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. All right, but yeah, just go ahead and keep here forever. So let's go ahead and talk about like the radio aspect and what you do with the sports and where they can find you and all the things that you're into on the radio part of things.
So I host a sports show every day from 3 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on the legendary KYLK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. It's called Sports Talk with Big Sarge, and so it's just me, and guests and people who call in. I just talk every day. I just talk about sports, but on my show, I come at it from a different aspect. I don't. You can go turn the radio on and hear people talk about LeBron James and the Lakers. So this people talking about this person talking about LeBron James and the Lakers. This person talking about LeBron James and the Lakers. This person talking about LeBron James and the Lakers. So by the time you get to 3 o'clock, you're like, bro, I done heard how sorry the Lakers are. What you got? And so I always have to do it from a different perspective. So I came on 2 days ago, and was it 2 days ago? Last week? Anyway, I'll come on and say something like our people like Lakers. Then I'll be like, you know what? I've seen this before. This isn't anything new that the Lakers are doing. They did this with Kobe. Kobe's last 3 years, it was just Kobe and a whole bunch of dudes they just threw on the team. I'm saying to myself, like, he played with like Nick Young and Steve Nash, and at one point, I'm like, and that's exactly the same blueprint that the Lakers are doing right now. You got LeBron, and you got a whole bunch of dudes they just threw on the team, or that was already there. It's like LeBron came into a half-furnished house. And so I'm saying to myself, but they've done this before. So when y'all keep talking about how sorry the Lakers are with LeBron, no, this is a management issue. They've been this way. The last 5 years they ain't made the playoffs. They've averaged 25 wins and 57 losses. And when Kobe was there, they averaged 21 wins. And I'm saying, so stop knocking LeBron, even though LeBron has something to do with it, because I felt like he didn't handle the young men the right way during the trading deadline. But, look at it from this aspect. So I say that to say, my sports show, I look at things from a different aspect. It may be something along the same subject, but it's going to definitely, you're going to walk away thinking, I ain't think about that. And so that I'm the sports editor for Houston Style Magazine. So I have an article that comes out every week. If you go to HoustonStyleMagazine.com and go to the sports section, you'll see all the articles that I write. So I cover all the local professional teams. I cover the Astros. I cover the Rockets. I cover the Texans. I cover the Dynamo. And then I cover some college and some high schools. And so and it all ties in together with the mental health we was talking about earlier, because I could be having one of my worst days, man. As soon as I sit down behind that mic, gone.
Yeah.
And now I'll pick it up when I get off the mic. But once I get it, it's just so therapeutic to sit there and talk sports and, go back and forth or whatever the case may be. So that's it, man. I got into that. by, like I told you all earlier, I was double dutching on the mic with 7 other guys trying to get my take in. Went from that to hosting a show, to leaving that station, to coming back to that station, hosting my own show. Leaving, then that station went under, and I did some freelance stuff, and then I came over to KYOK, and I've probably been there. I've been at KYOK, I want to say, probably about 7-8 months over there now, consistently. It started off from 3 to 5, now it's 3 to 6, and I get a chance, like I say, I get a chance to cover in the locker rooms, and so that helps me out as well, being able to talk about some things, like when Harden was on the streak and everybody's like, oh, he a ball hog. I was like, nah, he's a ball hog who only cares about his numbers. I was like, y'all should see him after a loss. Even I think one time he had like 50-something points and they lost. He was hot. He don't really want to talk to you. He just be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, so that's why I try to tell people, it's like, y'all care about the streak. He care about wins and losses. And that gives me a different dynamic and aspect, being able to be in the locker room and give it from a locker room's perspective. And so if you're looking for me, you can find me at BigSargeSportsWithAZ.com or Big Sarge Sports with a Z on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. One more time, just go over the different organizations you're with, and how anyone that can get involved with the either research or any of your causes. I know you were talking to Trey before we started about the 5Ks you do to spread awareness.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and run down real quick, just in case someone's watching this and they want to get some more information. Or
So I do. I have a company called Screaming on the Inside for men's mental health. We have Mila's Journey Foundation, that's for my wife, and that's for the colon cancer aspect of it. We do a Mila's Journey 5K that will be coming up this year. We have that mental health conference that's coming up this year. And I'm doing a 5K in all 50 states to help bring awareness to colon cancer and mental health issues. And so I have this gown that I wear with my boonie hat and push my wife's wheelchair, in honor of her. But I wear the hospital gown. I call it gown with the booty out. And it has names of, people who've been involved in the 5Ks we've been in. And on the back, it has names of people. It has the names of the spouses that was lost from this widows and widowers group that I was in. So I walk or run the 5K in their honor as well. And this month, the month of March, I'm doing 300 push-ups a day for colon cancer awareness. I always say, I use the hashtag I will because you can't. And so one of the things that will help prevent colon cancer is a healthy lifestyle. But you got a lot of people like my late wife who got to a point where she couldn't walk without a walker, or she couldn't get out of bed. So you got a lot of people in colon cancer, once it starts to become very aggressive and they can't stop it, their bones get brittle. You can't do a lot of stuff. And so I'm like, well, as long as I'm physically fit to do this, every day I do 300 push-ups, even when so I do it every break. Every break on air. And then when I'm not there, so I've did 1,800 to this point. So even this weekend, I was like, I did my 300 push-ups just so, trying to help people. I'm trying to get people involved to do it for those who can't.
Yeah. All right, man. Usually I put everybody on a hot seat, so you ain't gonna have no exceptions.
Yeah.
We're gonna go jump into the music aspect.
All right.
That's how I normally end a sit down. So question came from boy Pert. Shout out to Pert right now. He dealing with a lot right now with family, and just let you know we here for you, praying for you. But stranded. You're on the island, you're stranded, and you can only choose the catalog of 5 artists with you to listen to forever. Mm-hmm. Who would those 5 artists be?
Outkast, definitely that, because that's my favorite. That's my favorite rap group. Let me see. Kalani.
New school.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else. Sam Cooke. Beyonce. And Jay. And I threw Kalani in there because I really like her music. It was in between Kalani her. And I just like Kalani because she got a little more gangster to her. And so, she cheated on Kyrie in his face.
Nice. Nice.
But
nice.
but that would be my 5. Definitely.
Man,
that's why I ended it with Bay and Jay. You can't go wrong with them.
Yeah.
Sing Love on Top in the gym.
Look at you. It'll be funny, man, because I'll be sitting there like, man, some days if people knew what I was listening to, well, I'm really pushing the weight. I'm like, nah, I can't let you know this. I gotta hurry up and change that shit real quick.
Yeah, man, exactly.
Nobody knows. But nah, man, I definitely appreciate you coming out, man.
Hey,
and
thanks, bro.
Again, man, much respect and for your fighting and and I know it's still a fight because everybody's still fighting, and a lot of people don't have half the battles that you had to go through to be able to be here. And it's just like that just lets you know that you can get through it. You know, it is possible to get through a lot of the worst situations that you think you've ever been through. So man, again, man, thank you for coming out and
appreciate it,
man. Definitely, man, we're gonna have to stop by Sarge show and
man, y'all
come in and
y'all got an open invite, man. Come on in, chop it up,
for
man.
Sure,
and,
man. You came to mine, I gotta come to yours one day, man, and just have some fun, man.
Just know it's petty. My show is informative, educational, and petty.
Nice.
All my themes every day got a petty theme to it.
Well, I like reading, and I got 2 degrees, and I'm fairly petty. So we could definitely do a little something, man. But man, I appreciate you coming out, man. All right.